Well, they always told me to get a real one, so I did. So, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while. I haven't been able to do many videos as of late for a number of reasons. Mostly, life gets in the way. I graduated university not too long ago. Now I have a job. It does pay well. It's rewarding, but it's, I wake up at 5 and sometimes I get back home at 9, so I'm very tired. Time is of the essence, and I try to enjoy my weekends as much as I can. And these videos do take time. Prepare it, may have a facsimile of a script, a structure, the information, the research behind it has to be decent, or good, So I try to make decent quality stuff. Although this is more of a, quick video. I'm hoping to maybe have it out by tonight, just to do some quick editing. It's not going to be a very content heavy, as in I'm not really going to go over the history of the M16 because there's a lot to talk about. This is going to be just a few details on the A1, having a look-see over this beauty, tips and tricks for anyone that is looking into getting one of these. But yeah, this is kind of what I would consider the golden standard for reenacting, at least in the UK, given that, in the UK we can't really have re-ones, at least not first off semi. You can have them in, straight bore, but, the ones that have them can't really take them out and use them, can they? So this is just as good as it gets if you want to reenact. And it's still, an original full auto, saying that it can't shoot M16A1, which is still really cool. One day I'll likely try to make a video about all the different M16A1s in the market. Well, not all of them, but like categories, airsoft, model guns, deact, and go over them, see the pros and cons, what you can use for reenactment, what you should use for the reenactment, what is the better option. Give a few pointers for people that start out and see, because the M16A1 is kind of essential if you want to do reenacting, at least Vietnam War reenacting, or even more. You can use it for Panama and Grenada. So yeah, it's cool. Go over that, maybe another video on the history of the platform, but for that I likely like to go over books, research, which is, this is not the point of this video. This video is going to be a very quick overview of the M16A1, its history, this specific rifle, because it has some interesting bits, and what to look out for if you're deciding on buying, even a real one, but at least in my case, a DIAC. Now, quickly going over the history of the M16A1 rifle. Basically, the M16A1 came in 1967 after some more field improvements to the XM16E1, which was what came before it. That one would have, no fencing. Well, partial fencing actually. It wouldn't have this much of the top bar, let's say. Wouldn't have this, and there would be a recess under there. And well, actually, note on that, some XM16E1s actually had full fence lowers. I'll try to find the numbers, try to find the serial ranges, but you can find XM16E1s with full fence, which is just straight up funky. But they are out there. But that's just a bit of a parenthesis, if you may. It brought a series of improvements over the XM16E1. For example, full fencing, so you wouldn't bump your magazine release accidentally. Now sports a chrome lined chamber, which is relatively important, seeing that would prevent corrosion and would allow you to, extract and, get rounds into battery a bit easier, which was a bit of an issue with the prior rifles because they didn't have that treatment. So you get corrosion on the chamber, and, with corrosion, the action becomes grubby. You may have issues extracting, feeding, reliability, because that's the thing about the M16A1. The M16A1 was a pretty refined platform. The ones that had reliability issues were M16 and XM16. So, there's the myth of, oh, the Mattel gun, piece of shit gun, will jam all the time, we'll throw them away and pick up an AK. That's bullshit. No. So fine platform, it was perfected at the time, but the ones that did have issues were the XM16E1s. And even then, the issue was not only on the rifle, was also on the user, because, myth about it being self-cleaning, so yeah, not quite real. And the ammunition they had, the type of powder they put in the rounds was not exactly the same, so both the ballistic coefficient and the actual pressures were not the same, and that would cause malfunctions. But again, that's kind of a whole ass kind of worms that I don't want to get into. But yeah, the M16A1 was a good platform after those improvements as well. Parkerized bolts. You can see parkerized bolts with the late XM16A1s, but before that you would have chrome bolts, which, you know, for the sake of durability, they still went with a parkerization. If the camera wants to focus, there we go. Very nice. Also, they did have what we'll call a fully closed flash hider. You can tell it doesn't have, it's not open the same way, you know, a 3-prong would be. You can see it has, but that one is open. Now maybe if I can get the camera to focus on it, there it is. You can see it's open. You know, you can get vegetation, plants, fucking branches in there. It's annoying. So they went with this design. Plus this will break, which is not exactly great. And the A1 birdcage is different to the M16A2s and whatever the fuck came after, because I'm not too versed on that, by the fact that it's completely slotted. It has slotted all around the birdcage, rather than, you know, not having them at the bottom. That's an M16A2 and, you know, whatever came after thing. This is what you would be looking for an M16A1. And that's, well, the last thing, it's more of a parenthesis. It's not necessarily a huge thing, but, well, it is a huge thing, but, you know, not necessarily the most important in this case. They would have an improved buffer tube, well, spring and buffer detent, because, you know, these have basically a detent that keeps the buffer and spring in place. With the XM16E1s, what you can see is they would have a hole here that would hold the rolled pin that went through it, basically like this, and that would hold the detent in place, which wasn't ideal because that's, you know, a hole in your receiver, and that would let, you know, shit get into your gun, which is not particularly easy, and it's also a bit more complicated than not having that. But yeah, that's really the list of improvements I can think top of my head, because again, it's not a huge script for this video. It's just a quick look over, see what's interesting, see what isn't. So we're going to start by the front. Again, birdcage flash hider, very nice. This one has been welded in place. There we go. The seller told me to, you know, just take a bit of a file to it. Not break the weld. Just take a bit of a file to it to flatten it so it's in line with the rest of the birdcage, so I can actually put a bayonet on it. Because the welding is not there to prevent you from putting a bayonet on. It's on there because the birdcage, well, the flash hider, barrel, front side base, I believe, gas tube, and bolt are pressure-bearing parts. And in the EU, those are regulated. In the US, the part that is regulated is the receiver. In the EU, which to me makes a bit more sense, the part that is regulated is anything that has to bear any pressure. But that's, you know, there's not into politics there. But yeah, it is welded in place so you don't take it out. Let's see if I can actually get that to focus. CMP chrome bore. This marking would have come after 1974 and was used well, basically ever since on the M16A1. I believe these came after the serial number 4,900,000, if I'm not mistaken. For any of these dates and serial number ranges, I'll try to put it somewhere on the video so you can actually see with much detail. Because again, this is kind of just going on top of my head, but I still want to provide some decent information. Nicely parkerized. CM bell, front side base. You can see the seat and bell at the bottom. These were used from, I believe, 1970 onwards with the correct style of front side. If I want to actually focus, front side post, rounded, not squared. The square would come with the M16A2. Also, it's got the drain hole at the bottom. I'll try to put dates for everything on the somewhere around here. And these were used again from 1970 onwards, so it's perfectly fine for that. Sling swivel. This one will originally be coated in rubber, but as you can tell, it's pretty, worn out. So the coating has just gone completely off. You can also notice it's been riveted in place. Prior rifles prior to 1969 would have a rolled pin rather than a rivet keeping it in place. So it would be much more like this. This is a GMP that I've retouched relatively extensively, and you can see it's got a rolled pin there and it's rubber coated. On the note for front side bases, you can tell this front side base has what we're going to call flashing. Flashing is the line in the middle. If the camera maybe wants to focus, let me see, there we go. It's the line in the middle because usually these were cast and forged. and this basic line in the middle was basically the leftovers from the casting. Before 1969, I believe they used to just machine them off for no apparent reason. I believe it was mostly for aesthetics. And then they realized, oh, that, you know, is not really fucking useful, so we're not going to machine those off, because it's another step in the manufacturing of a gun part, and you just want them to be as streamlined as quick as possible, so they just decided to leave it as is. Originally, on other rifles, they would be much like this, completely smoothed out, nothing to be seen. So, yeah, this would be a bit more accurate in that term, or in that regard, sorry. Triangular barrel band, triangular handguard, beat up, yes, but I kind of like them like that. Right side is always more beat up than the left side, don't ask me why, but it is how it is. Some teeth missing, but the heat shield is still there. And that, you can also tell that the gas tube has been cut there and doesn't go much further, because again, it's a pressure bearing part, so they are a bit more regulated. The correct style of delta ring or pull ring or slip ring, whatever the fuck you want to call it, does work. You can change hand guards whenever you want. I'm not taking them off because it's a pain in the ass. And then we get to the interesting bits, which is the receiver, which I just really like. Ooh, sorry. the overall tone, the color of it, it's lovely. I don't know, it's kind of nice gray patina thing going on. It's awesome. But yeah, you have non-reinforced lower, which is what you'll be looking for an M16A1. Full fence, receiver, magazine catch works as you would expect it to. You have the correct style of dust cover. Later dust covers would be a bit larger, a bit more square, and it would be kind of at an angle as to better accommodate, you know, hitting the fencing all the time. And the D10 inside will be, you can see this is kind of hexagonal. It's got angles and it's got corners, while the M16A2 and forward dust covers would be longer and actually rounded. So that's something to watch out for. Again, parkerized bolts, you got the slots for the forward assist. Again, magazine catch works. Trigger assembly's there. The infamous sear pin is, of course, still there. Well, infamous in the States. Here we don't give a shit because it has nothing to do with that. CH marked upper. I'll put dates somewhere. Adjustable rear sight. Windage adjustable, sorry. And then you got elevation adjustable rear sight. Let me see if I can... Lighting now is actually good. It allows me to see that. You have ghost... No, these are not ghost. You have peep sights. Later on, they would come with... ooh, there we go. You can see... you can also see the L. It is adjustable in range, but it's just two positions. That is long range, and that is, well, let's say, regular range. I'll try to probably put some stats somewhere about what range those are for. But as you can see, they're peeps, so they're very small apertures, rather than being a big-ass ghost ring that would come with the 86 pattern sights, and, you know, the M16A2, M4, whatever. It's not really the same. And you can also see they have a distinctive kind of lollipop shape. Maybe if I can actually get a bit closer. There we go. Kind of lollipop shape, rather than being kind of like tombstone shaped. So, yeah. Hole there if you want to put, you know, scopes, starlight scopes, accessories, and the likes. That is there. Charging handle works as you would expect it to. Got a little clip, pull back, opens, and does the thing. Forward assist, you know, teardrop shaped. Very. Let's see if I can get some better lighting on that. Very particular of the M16A1. A different style will come with, you know, later rifles when it went to a rounded style. Because I'm assuming this would snag a lot more rather than if it was completely round, because it does stick out a whole bunch. Let me close that. Now, this side also gets, I think, the most interesting. Well, first off, selector does work. The safety does work for whatever that's worth, seeing that it's not a real gun. Yeah. Bolt catch is sadly welded in place, because I'll get to that later. That's how the rod that sticks from here to there stays in place. I'll explain that in a second. Well, you can see the rest of the magazine catch there, and that's really when this rifle gets really interesting. The markings. Usually on these M16s, well, actually, let me start from the beginning. when you're going to buy a deactivated gun in the UK, you may find sellers that say, oh, these weapons are 1960s dated M16A1s. No, they're not. Simply because look at this serial number code. Well, the serial number, basically. 7-digit number. Okay, that's fine. It starts with a 9. No. If it's 9 million series, that is late 70s, early 80s manufacture. So don't be fooled into, you know, oh, it's a Vietnam War 60s dated rifle because of the serial number. No. If it's not with the 9, no, it isn't. So stay completely, you know, aware of that factoid. Also, the markings are different. They're not the same as the Vietnam War ones. But this one actually has, other than, you know, the Birmingham house proof markings to prove that this thing is deactivated. Ignore those. This one has very interesting markings. Why? Because these are actually more remnant of early export rifle markings. This is still an export rifle, yeah, but the markings are early style. You can see these markings on 601s, 604s that were sold for export in the 1960s, but instead of having M16, you would have AR-15. Also note, on this particular example, they put A1 in a bit of a weird way next to it. I don't know why they would have done that, but it's weird. I don't even have an answer for that. And these specific markings, when you see Colt M16, they come from the Colt 614, if I'm not mistaken, which was an export model for the M16A1 from the 70s. And that type of marking was used from 1974 onward. There's a theory, because I posted this on the AR-15 forums, that this receiver may actually be Vietnam era, but then was, you know, left in stock, and then the serial number was applied and then was sold for export, which is still very, very interesting and very cool. Because you seldom find rifles that are from that era, because, you know, most of the ones that you will find in the market are export rifles. And if you find a genuine Vietnam War era M16A1 or XM16A1 or even M16, that will run you a good 2 to 3K. And this actually was the cheapest rifle they had. So the markings went unnoticed, because this is very, very interesting and very, very cool. Because they do get really close to the right markings. This is a project gun. Don't really look at it too hard. You see Colt AR-15, property of US government. You can see the location of the pony, Colt marking and all that. It's almost there. And at a glance, it looks fine. It's, of course, missing, you know, US property of US government, M16A1. If you don't see this marking on your M16, that means it was for export or law enforcement. So yeah, keep that into account. But these markings really are really, really cool. Again, compared to what you would find on a rifle like this, this is a nice big chunk of space there. I'll try to put an image. These do look really, really cool. And they stand out less than the ones that you would find in the market. So yeah, it's a bit more believable the way I see it. And one of the reasons why this rifle kind of went underappreciated and was the cheapest one they fucking had was because it was painted black, completely painted black. Well, not completely, just the stock was painted black. The grip is still kind of painted black, but it doesn't really fucking matter much. I'll take that off whenever. So luckily the barrel and all was not painted black, but the whole receiver was, and you can still see remnants of the paint. Maybe if the camera wants to focus on the flash on the underneath the carry handle, like here, for example. And I actually contacted a buddy of mine, which is Hoostonks on Instagram, my bestie, my beloved, and he knows a bunch about British equipment. And the British did buy M16A1s of the Americans, and they actually used them in the Falklands, Northern Ireland. And what they would do is when the finish starts running a bit short, kind of like this one, they will paint it black, much like they did on Browning high-power pistols, GPMG top covers, and SLRs. So it is likely that this rifle was actually used in, well, the British Army for a while, painted, and then deactivated and sold in the commercial market, which is very, very interesting and actually very, very cool. But yeah, these markings are, I love them. It's almost like the ones that I would want, you know, an original Vietnam War M16A1. So that's likely as close as you're going to get without spending, yeah, 3K on one. And this one, again, was 775 bucks, or British, Great British pounds, GBP, quid. Yeah, likely it was sold pretty cheap because, well, the handle was also smashed. This is not the handle that came with it. And was painted black. The black paint, if you were looking to get an M16, a one that is cheap and painted, you can take it off. It is not hard to take off. It's not hard. It's just a pain in the ass because it takes time me and my buddy Luke, which is actually the one that bought this rifle, because we went to a show last Sunday, and we asked the seller on the day before if he could bring down the rifle so I can have a look, and we did, and he bought it for me, and I paid it off yesterday actually, because he thought, you know what, you've seen it, it's here, I may as well just take it before someone else does, because these markings really are cool, and we didn't want to risk it. And yeah, it went for £775, just because of that. Normally the rifle itself would be $730, but it came with a kit with 3 30-round mags extra and an XM3 bipod and 5.56 rounds that I haven't received yet. I may do a video on it later, but yeah. If you find a painted rifle that is cheap, get it, take the paint off, it'll be fine. Yeah, and again, it went underappreciated just because paint, and I don't care because I got a good deal out of it. Going back to it, this rifle is not really an old spec rifle. Old spec rifle means old specification, if you're missing a few brain cells. And back in the EU, in the 90s and in early 2000s, I believe, the specification for deactivation was different. So rifles from that era that are deactivated, would have cocking action, so you can actually cock it, and there will be, the trigger assembly will still be fine. You won't need a rod in the magazine well. You can actually strip the rifles, which is really cool. Yeah, this one is not an old spec. This is a new spec. However, the good thing is that, one, what moves on this gun is the carrier, not really the bolt. So you can still get him while they move. It also breaks down, which is cool. And maybe we'll be able to see a bit more of the deactivation process. You can see, whoa. Ooh. See, now I actually have a tripod. Ooh, upgrade. Get that up. There we go. You can see that is where they basically weld a rod, and that's why the bolt catch is welded in place, because to weld it you need to weld it on what's it called, steel, as to make things easier. You could likely weld it somewhere else, but this is likely the easiest way. So mine doesn't move, stays in place. I don't mind. I'm not really going to use it. You can see the trigger group is basically gone. The trigger is still there, but there's still a spring. The original spring is still there, but the full auto sear has been taken out, and the pin has been left there. Buffer works perfectly fine. Really, that's just a standard thing that doesn't really need to be changed at all. So it's there, and then you can see actually the detent I was talking about a bit earlier. On that note, actually, let me just twist this around. And the forward assist does work, and I've always wondered how many people have seen it work, because let me just. There we go, and now if we pull, there it goes. There it is. That's it, really. And just again, there we go. Cool. Not much use, seeing that, it's deactivated, but it's cool to see that it moves, and it works. And yeah, that's also the thing. Since it doesn't have a bolt, then it's just a carrier, you can actually get it moving, which is really cool, using the original spring pressure. Oh, one thing that I forgot to show is that the bolt carrier, however, is still kind of chopped. Ooh, without squeezing my fingers there. There we go. You can tell the bolt carrier has been basically chopped in two. So, yeah. Cool gun. Cool functionality. I'm happy with how it is. I don't really need to do much more, because this is good for pictures and shit. Yeah. And now that we're getting at the back, D-stock. This is what you want for an M16A1 rifle. I don't care what you heard. I don't care what you've seen in a museum in Vietnam. Museums in Vietnam also have Alice gear, and you don't use Alice gear for Vietnam. You need a D-stock, non-trapdoor buttstock. The story with the trapdoor buttstock is that the idea of a buttstock with a trapdoor to be able to fit a cleaning kit inside was actually a mid-war idea. There's a report that I need to find again, and I'd like to try to quote it, that did explain that, it would be cool. They started developing a stock with a trapdoor, basically like this one. Because this actually, a bit of a shit angle, I know, but it is what it is. This is the stock that came on that rifle. So I just swapped it, because I thought it would be more important to have a good stock on the real rifle and a meh stock on a airsoft gun. This one is a GMP, as I said, and this one actually has, Vietnam era markings. These markings are for the 1972 revision of the M16A1 rifle, so it would make sense to have a stock like this on this one. While, again, a rifle with these markings a Colt DR15, the markings that you really want for NAM would have a D stock. This, I think, may be an actual C stock, seeing that it's got marbling all over. But that's a project for another day. But back into the subject, don't get one of these. The idea of a stock like this was mid-war, and they started being produced and introduced into rifles in 1971, late 1971. But the issue with new stocks being produced in 1971 is that they're just not going to send the stock alone to Vietnam. They're going to have to mount it on completely new rifles. And they're not going to send new rifles to Vietnam in the mid-70s because they already had plenty of them until the very last end, just the very end of the war, when they started sending a lot of material. And at that point, maybe you would have gotten rifles with E-stocks, but I haven't seen a picture of one, ever. So just don't use it. I do not care what you see. I don't care what you've heard. If you don't have a solid picture of like someone in Nam, not a picture like this on the side that you cannot even see the sling swivel. If you have a picture of someone with a trapdoor, buttstock, then we'll talk. But until then, just get a D-stock. They're not hard to find. They're still around. You can get the Brownells ones. They're fine. Just, you know, and they're cool. Like, I really like the sling swivel. The buttstock is just awesome. I really like them. So yeah, bit of a rant, if you may. But yeah, that really is the rifle overall. It is not the most accurate rifle right now. Oh, actually, I forgot to mention one thing. This is the magazine that came with the gun. Also, I did mention the fact that you need a slot cut in the magazine, of course, to be able to, you know, not interfere with the rod that is in the mag well, to basically be able to clear it. So that's why you will need a slot cut in your magazines to actually be able to fit it through. But yeah, and this is the magazine that came with it. Steel mag, 30 rounds, which is a big no-no. 30 round magazines for the Vietnam War, they need to be golden, like the pre-69 20 round magazines, not really flat black and you know, white or silver underneath. They need to be golden. Just a bit of a pointer. Yeah, they need to be slotted. The magazine itself is kind of shit, actually. It's unmarked, steel, parkerized, very shit plastic follower. Not that it matters, but, you know, it's still a shit mag. The lips, the feed lips, are actually too narrow, so much so that when you put it on the M16, you can hear it, if it wants to go in as well, you'll see the resistance of the bolt. You may even be able to hear it. It does not like this mag. So, and that's just to compare it with the 20 round magazine, how smooth it is. So yeah, this one, I'm likely gonna either modify the feed lips or sell it or chuck it away, because again, I don't really have a use for these unless I do a late war, and even for late war, these are not exactly amazing. So trash, throw it away. But yeah, I'm still very happy for, you know, everything, and the M16 is just plain old cool, really. Like, I'm just being able to say, yeah, I mean, this is kind of just bragging at that point. You're like, I own a full auto M16. Like, yeah, it is full auto, but it's still an impressive paperweight. That's the way I would describe it. Really cool. I'm thinking about, yeah, doing a guide on maybe how to render your M16 a bit more accurate, like I did on my GMP. But that is something for the future when I have more time. But it is a dream come true to be able to own one of these and to have one of these in my collection. And these will look awesome for pictures. Really believable. With the patina especially, I really like guns that have some nice wear to them. And this one is definitely one of them. It's not excessive, but it's definitely there. You can see it. That has been run a good bunch. But yeah, that really is all I really had to say about it. It's good to be back. I'll try to maybe make a few more videos from time to time. Likely, maybe each weekend if I have a new topic to talk about, that would be cool. But you know, on the weekends I'm also up with my buddies, well, my buddy, and trying to relax and de-stress a little bit from work. So I'll try to make more videos because I know people enjoy these. and especially if I can make it informative and help anyone build their impression, or maybe help them tips and tricks on how to buy these. As I said before, again, don't trust sellers that tell you, oh, this is a real Vietnam War M16 if it doesn't have, you know, the markings or the serial number range. Don't do that. Yeah, it's cool to be able to make videos again, but yeah, as I said, it does take time, and I want to make videos worthwhile watching, especially when they're like 30 minutes long, as this one is. Because I mean, this was meant to be a quick video, and it turned out not to be so quick. Oh yeah, actually, I forgot. This is a Universal Industries Colt ER15 5.56 magazine. Nothing special about it. We did have to drill it. One rivet popped. I had to epoxy it in place, but you know, it's fine. It was the least valuable magazine available. But yeah, it's just great to be back. Bit of a marine look going on today, and of course, I'm also trying to improve the quality of the videos. Hopefully, the focus was not as bad as on the M60 video. Hopefully, this video was not fucking boring. That would be a bit of a shame. I tried to have a different background this time with, you know, marine stuff. I'll likely try to get into impressions one day, posting, you know, kits and tips and tricks and history a bit. But for that, I need a nice background, because I don't want to have, you know, my fucking living room as the background for a Vietnam War kit, since that would be a bit weird. But yeah, you know, things will come. I got a backlog of stuff that I want to make videos on, but I still need information and some items to actually be able to complete sets and make it, you know, educative, so people can, you know, look at it and learn, and also interesting to watch, so it's not fucking boring. But yeah, it's been great. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope especially if you live in Europe, you may be interested in one of these, especially the DMB ones. These are the ones that have the moving bolts. I hope you learned a little bit, and I hope it was fun, because I mean, dude, this is really fun for me. But yeah, that's it. I hope you have a great day, and see you next time.